Hello! So today I am here with Bettina from at BettinaKnits on Instagram. It's so great to have you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I was really flattered and glad that you asked me to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much for being willing to. I was very happy when you were like, yes, of course. So let's start. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your crafty journey?
So I'm Bettina. I'm a knitter. In addition to knitting, I also love nonfiction, goats, crop tops, potato skins, Stevie Nicks, social justice, Oakland, California, which is where I live, and my cat, who may or may not come say hello to us while we're talking. I've been knitting for I think 17 years. I started when I was in high school, and I don't exactly remember when. I remember at the time. There were some, like, in 17 magazine, I read some interviews with people who talked about knitting, and it just sounded really cool. And I just kept buying books trying to teach myself until I found the one that worked. And uh, my friend's mom would, like, me when I couldn't remember how to do a purl or anything. This was just before the first Stitch and Bitch book came out, for some context of sort of how people were starting to think about knitting again in the early 2000s. So for like 13 years, all I knit were rectangles and tubes. So basically hats, scarves, and little mitts. And I liked the instant gratification. I didn't want to try anything else. Um, and then in 2015, I tried to knit socks for someone I was dating, and they turned out awful. I got all the
Oh,
mechanics. I got the mechanics right, but my math was so off that they were 4 inches too long. Um, so I hid them. I just frogged them last week because I was so ashamed and mad about these socks.
oh my gosh.
um, and so I didn't really try anything else. And then in 2016, I became an auntie, and so I wanted to make a toy for my first nibbling. And I started to really get interested in how you could do construction with knitting different things. Sort of cut to, then I made him a stocking, and then I tried socks again. Um, and then last year, I went to the Rose City Yarn Crawl in Portland, Oregon. And that was the first time that I bought independently dyed yarn. And um, that was a shifting point in my relationship with knitting and sort of understanding what it meant as an identity, as in a craft that I wanted to do. I met so many people there. I went with some friends, and I met dyers and I met designers, and I just, like, hadn't really understood this big world that existed outside of the big corporate the corporate names. I had a Ravelry account. When LiveJournal was a thing, I was on the Nidhi community there, but hadn't really figured out how, like, I could meet people and have community around it. And so that got me really excited about trying new things. So really in the last 15 months, I bought independently dyed yarn for the first time. I bought independent patterns for the first time. I ended up leaving my job in May, and that also changed my relationship into the time that I spent with knitting. I decided to try my first garment, which was color work of all things and really ambitious. Um, and so just essentially the last 15 months I've done more than I did the 15 years prior with knitting. And so it's just been really fun. And then I joined knitting. I created a knitting Instagram, rather, separate from my main account. And that has been really fun. And that's, of course, where I've gotten to know you.
Yeah. Um, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and see all of your knits on your Instagram account. Um, so you mentioned that it was just 15 months ago that you kind of started really diving into this new world that you discovered. So it's really cool that you've been able to. Was it kind of like a rebirth almost into knitting when it
Yeah,
happened?
yeah, I got excited about knitting in a way that I hadn't been for a long time. And when I say that I have been knitting for 17 years, it's been a lot of on and off, almost even full years where I didn't work on anything
Hmm.
or try anything. And it is, um, people say it's just like riding a bike. And I always sort of guess that I'm the exception to that because I'm very bad at riding a bike. But with knitting, if you've done it long enough, you can always just come back to it and
Yeah.
pick it up. And there were all these things that I was really intimidated about. Um, and one of the things that has been really great about it in the last year is that at a time when personally, and certainly for all of us right now, things feel really uncertain,
Mhm.
I have gotten a lot of confidence from knitting. I've been able um, to own what I'm able to do and what I'm able to create. And there's something more satisfying about it. I've learned to be more patient because I'm doing projects that take months as opposed to days. And it's really taught me a lot of things in a fun way.
I love that. And you say you're a fan of crops. What is your favorite crop knit out there, whether you've knit or that you want to knit?
Oh gosh. I think that the Faye sweater by Rachael Reese is technically considered a crop, but I want to make it like a real crop. I
Mhm.
am uh so so I mentioned that my Bettina Knits account is sort of my alt account or my sub account. On my main account, when we could go outside, I used to post OOTD's outfits of the day, and I am just a strong advocate of like a real short crop top, especially
Yeah.
as a fat person. I think that there's something very radical and liberating about it. And
Yeah.
so I look at a lot of patterns. I look at a lot of knit patterns that say that they're crop, and I go, and I'm 5 foot, so I'm also like, well, that's just a shirt. That's just at my waist, which is where I want to wear a shirt. I want a crop top that's like
Yeah.
a good 3 inches shorter than that.
Yeah. That's awesome. And speaking of Rachael Reese, you are currently co-hosting a knit along with her for her Blakely hat, correct?
Yes, I am. So Rachel put the Blakely hat pattern on sale in April because it was a year old, and she put it on sale for $1, which I think was also something she did to be cognizant of her lost work because of COVID-19. And I sort of just jokingly said that I wanted to do an informal knit along because I was lonely and I wanted people to knit the hat with me.
Yeah.
And she sent me a message about it, and we got to talking, and we decided to do an actual knit along.
That's perfect. So talking about your knit along, how can people join? Because it's currently going on until the end of May, correct?
Yes, it's going on until the end of May. The Rachel extended the sale of the pattern through the end of May, so it's $1 through May 31st, which um, I think is a great deal for a
Hmm.
really beautiful pattern. I know, Riley, you're doing it, and
Yes,
like
I
the
am.
pattern is, I want to say it's like 4 pages with a lot of details, but then there's also a print friendly and a phone mobile friendly version that's shorter for just the quick dirty details. So we're doing the knit along on 2 places, on Instagram and Ravelry. And Rachel has donated prizes, which include these cute little illustrated pouches that have a design of the Blakely hat. A pattern from her store, and gift cards to Sugar Plum Circus yarns. And the ways that people can win those prizes is by using the hashtag Blakely Hat KLL on Instagram, posting their finished objects with the hashtag for that, or just participating on our Ravelry thread, where Rachel's also doing pattern support for anyone who needs it. Which I think that this is one of the people who's participating. Is not a beginning knitter, has done garments, has done all sorts of things, but has never knit a hat. And so I
Really?
think it's, yeah, which is to me because a hat was the second thing I knit after a square. Um,
Yeah.
and I think it's such a good hat for people like that because there's a little bit of interest in it. So here's my hat. Um, it's got this great slip stitch, which is just really easy to do. I love this because it's more interesting than knitting plain stockinette, but also I don't have to think that hard about it,
Yeah.
which feels really nice right now.
Yeah. Um, I will agree with you. Her pattern is gorgeous, and I think it's amazing that she has a printer-friendly version because I can't tell you how many times I've printed a pattern and wasted ink on photos. So the pattern's gorgeous. Here's mine. I'm actually casting on a second one,
Yay!
so I could keep knitting with you. Um, but this is kind of where you started the cast on Halo, correct?
Yes, because I was bored at home. More things that I do because I'm bored at home. And I want to just point out about the knit along, since you mentioned you're starting your second one,
Mm-hmm.
that we are less than 2 weeks into it, and I think the last I saw last night was we have 6 finished
Oh,
already.
wow.
were participating. Seven now, when I count yours. One of four of those belong to one person.
Oh my gosh.
And so, yeah. And so it's really easy to do. But I also wanted this to be over a month so that folks, not everybody has as much free time as I do right now. People are still working. People are teaching their kids and things. So we wanted it to go over the month so that it could be really self-paced, but there's still plenty of time to join us. We're doing some weekly prompts because I was trying to think really hard about how could it be something where people could do it at their own pace, but also have a little bit of structure for folks who that works more for. And I want to give a shout out to Willa from Tomboy Femme Bags, who had been posting some conversations about this for how could knit-alongs be more friendly to neurodivergent people and people with ADHD, where there needs to be some structure. And I thought, well, how do I can't do milestones for a hat.
Yeah.
But how do I make some structure? So we've got weekly prompts that people can chime in with or not if they want to. It's just trying to keep it really open. I have not made cast on halos one of those prompts, but I want to.
Yes.
So cast on halo was born from, I don't know, boredom and probably putting my cast on top of my cat's head is my guess, really. But so it's really easy to do. So you could just cross your needles and make a loop and hope it will stay. I know that this won't because it's bulky yarn. So what I've been doing is sort of intertwining my needles like I'm going to tie a knot, which is like weirdly not intuitive when you're doing it with something rigid, but
I'm like how can I make this work?
But if it were, so if you sort of take them, I have them like crossed at an angle and then I'm moving my left one to go in front. It's really weird because if you were just tying a knot, you could do it, right? But because
so my thing's really small. Is it okay if my halo's gonna end up being this big?
Yeah.
Okay.
All halos are beautiful. There's all different kinds.
Some halos have little spikes coming out of them.
I'm planning to cast on the Framework Bralette by Jessie May soon, and I thought about doing that last night, and then I remembered I had to wind the yarn, and I didn't want to do that.
Okay, yes.
But that would have been a double halo had I done it. So, and then you just want to balance it.
I love it.
You can see it.
People, you can't see mine very well, but it's there.
I highly recommend doing some sort of angelic pose.
Yes.
If you want to have like a really great photo shoot, you could use some bobby pins to hold it in place.
Oh yeah. I'll probably have to use a different color, but
and then the face filters on Instagram are great for this because there's just all sorts of like glowy things and radiant things to play with. And this was really just like a joke and a silly thing that I think people could use. I needed something to make me smile.
Yeah.
But I also keep joking I'm trying to make it the new yarn crown, mostly because I couldn't figure out how to do a yarn crown. And this is so much easier.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even tried the yarn crown yet. I'll be honest. I'm like, oh my gosh, that just intimidates me.
A lot of pinning, I imagine. But so I'm asking people to share this with hashtag #CastOnHalo. And I've got a highlight on my Instagram with pictures of them. And I'm just going to see how long I can keep this on while we finish talking.
Yeah, well, here, I'll join you. So, thank you. I think we're at time, but I would love to have you back in the future to talk about all these different things because you are very into like social activism, and I love it. And I love looking at your stories and things like that. And I love that you talked about how you've been trying to find ways to make your knit along with Rachael more accessible to neurodivergent people, as well as like people who are just busy. Like for me, one of the things that actually encouraged me to join was the fact that it was a hat over a month, because it can be really stressful to be like, okay, 2 weeks, finish your hat. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, everybody's lives are different, right? And I think that you know, I you mentioned in your introduction post for the Blakely Hat Knit Along that you don't know ever know what to say, and I think that's always a challenge. But I was looking at like what are different bios that I've written for myself before when I was getting ready for this conversation,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I usually say when I'm introducing myself or if I write a bio for myself is um, that I identify as a fat queer femme of color. These are
Yeah.
parts of my identity, and they don't go away when I'm knitting. Right? That's. I
Yeah.
feel like this is serious, and I should take my halo off. This is those are not parts of me that go away when I'm knitting, and that if we want a knitting community to be truly inclusive, if we want to make sure that knitting is for everyone, that it's as liberating and political as it's always been,
Mm-hmm.
um, traditional feminine crafts have always been, um, that we have to understand how people bring their whole selves to it and all of the ways that that happens. And so, you know, I had joked, oh, I think I could knit this hat in 2 days because I don't have a job right now,
Yeah.
and I don't have kids, and so I'm at home all the time, so I have time to do it. I haven't knit it mostly because I'm spending all my time managing the knit along
Uh-huh.
instead. um, but um, but that everybody's lives are different, and so how do you make sure that everybody can come in and do things, and be included as much as possible for it?
Yeah. Well, I love that. And I agree with you. Like, as a woman of color, like, there's just things where you can't just leave parts of yourself behind, especially when it's a craft that is liberating to you. Like, something that you enjoy, a hobby, it shouldn't be restrictive or making you retreat back into yourself or like put parts of yourself in the back. So I love that. And I love that you introduce yourself as all parts of yourself. I think we all need to do that. um, but thank you again so much, Bettina, for coming on and for speaking with me and speaking with me so candidly. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me too.
Yeah, well, everybody, you heard it. Use the hashtag CastOnHalo and check out the knit along. It's the hashtag Blakely Hat, KAL. And you can find Bettina on Instagram at BettinaKnits as well as on Ravelry at BettinaKnits. So thank you again, and I'll see you.
Great, thanks, Riley.